Kicking off our trailgating coverage of the 2026 Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, the Freetrail Chalet. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined by two fantastic co-hosts on the far end of the couch. EmKay Sullivan is back.
Hello,
EmKay,
hello.
good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's lovely to be in Chamonix. Yeah. You know, took a year off last year being pregnant, but we're back. Yeah. We're back in the valley.
It's a beautiful Saturday morning here, and we are also joined by two-time CCC champion, our good buddy Hayden Hawks in studio. Hayden, good to see you, buddy.
Hey guys, happy to be here. I've been here for about a month now, but it's always good to see some fellow Americans and talk, about this great sport.
Yeah, and you're not lining up this week, so we get to leverage your expertise as a two-time champion to share all the important information with the global trail running fan base, and we're very grateful to have you. Of course, we got to give a shout out to the team behind the scenes, Brett Jorgensen on the ones and twos, Ryan Thrower with the camera action, and our boy Cuzzy T, always working hard. Of course, Travis crunching numbers for us, and Harmony sort of managing the whole thing from back home in California. We love all you guys. We appreciate all the contributions. Subscribe to the channel if you don't mind as we launch into our week plus of ultra marathon coverage here from Chamonix. Again, today is our annual tradition, the top 10 storylines of the 2026 UTMB. Tomorrow, we've got the OCC and the CCC previews dropping in your feeds. Monday, we've got the UTMB preview. Tuesday, our sort of final thoughts and predictions as we point towards the world final events. We do have a champion show on Wednesday, and then starting Thursday, we start doing our recap shows as the champions, podiums, top 10 start streaming into the village from OCC. So stay locked and loaded. Your feed is going to be inundated with Freetrail content. Last but not least, play fantasy, picking 10 deep for OCC, CCC, and UTMB, 5 deep for ETC. We're playing that race this year, which is super fun. Head-to-toe HOKA kits on the line. Big thank you to our friends at HOKA for supporting our coverage all week. Launching into it, guys. Top 10 storylines. We've got some good ones this year. I love it. As we sometimes do, we start with a look back. Important anniversaries is our 10th storyline here, and we've got some fun ones. First and foremost, 10 years since potentially the greatest comeback in 100-mile history. Everybody knows Ludovic Pommeret, one of the great legends of the sport and the great legends of UTMB. Brett's going to bring up a graphic here. 2016, one of the great comebacks ever. And for those who are newer to the sport, they may not be familiar with this story. But as we look at the splits here, Hayden and EmKay, we see Ludo was as far back as 53 minutes behind the lead at Col de la Seine. That's roughly 60K into the race. 53 minutes back, 44 minutes back at Courmayeur, 40 back at Grand Col Ferret, only 14 minutes back at Champex-Lac, eventually takes the lead right around Trient, wins by 26 minutes. The stats tell the whole story here, but maybe just chime in on your teammate Ludovic Pommeret, if you remember this event at all, and in general, just this fun history here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching this. Like, this was kind of right when I got into the sport, and I heard about this race, UTMB. So I tuned in, and was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. This guy Ludo, I didn't really know who he was at the time. But then I was actually fortunate enough to race him in 2017 when I ran CCC. Yeah. And me and him ran like probably half the race together. And I learned a lot from him, and it was just incredible. And Ludo, he's just such a strong guy. Like, and it shows, with his race here, like he never gives up. I mean, he's just incredible with how, like the type, I think over the years though, his race strategy has changed. I feel like back then he didn't push the downhills maybe as much as he does now. But yeah, he's just like a brother to me. He's an amazing person. And he's actually out racing right now. He's doing this. He's
doing La Chapelle as we speak.
Yeah, yes. Like this. He was telling me about it. It's like this crazy race here in France. Yeah. It's one of the most technical, longest races here in France or something. Yeah. And it's just incredible to watch that guy. And he's been a mentor of mine and helped me so much throughout my career.
What a legend. EmKay, we're going to bring up the Ludo's history here at UTMB, but please do contribute your thoughts here.
I was just gonna say that, you were saying you were just getting into ultra running, and I actually had to Google this result because I had no idea what ultra running or trail running was in 2016.
That's why it's important to revisit this stuff.
Yeah. And so I actually Googled it, and the thing that I thought was crazy is that his crew wanted him to drop out at like 50K, and he just like
Can you imagine?
kind of like didn't get what they were asking and just was like, no, I'm just going to keep going. And then he won.
It's unbelievable. And he not only did he win, he won by 26 minutes.
Yeah.
That was the year Gediminas Grinius was second. Tim Tollefson was third place. And then the following year, you won CCC. Was it Marcin Swearish that was second? Ludovic was third.
Yeah.
Oh, these are the stats in my brain here 10 years later. What we're looking at here on the screen, this is a really fun thing to just add as we begin to move on. But what we notice here is Ludovic's winning time from 2016 was about 22 flat. That is his slowest finish at UTMB. So every year he has gotten better. He's finished 4th, 5th, 5th, 6th. His fastest ever time, 20 hours and 40 minutes, which is roughly an hour and 20 minutes faster than the time that he ran when he won the race. So still getting better with age, as we all know.
This is the goal, right?
This is the
goal, man. Like, this is what I think about all the time. I talk to my wife about this. I'm like, I just want to be like Ludo. I want to be 50 years old and winning Hard Rock and like have these experiences, right? It's just incredible, the longevity of his career and like what he's been able to do. Yeah. So I actually asked him, because I thought maybe he started the sport later in life. Well, he started running later in life, I should say. He started running when he was like 24 years old, but he started running ultras when he was 25. Yeah. So he's been in the sport for 25 years, competing at a really, really high level, right? Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to Ludo too. I'm actually on his bike right now. I was trying to look for a bike out here, and I reached out to Ludo and was like, "Hey, dude, you know where I can find a bike?" And he's like, "You can borrow one of my bikes." So I'm hoping that like I get as strong as Ludo because I'm using his bike right now.
Osmosis.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ludo is going to be on our champion show on Wednesday, which we're very excited about. So we'll revisit this storyline with Ludo. A couple more anniversaries we're celebrating this year. It's been 15 years since Lizzie Hawker's last win. We're going to pull up some stats on that. Also 15 years since Killian won Western States and UTMB in the same summer. That's back in 2011. Lizzie Hawker, the winningest person in UTMB history. Again, for people that are newer to the sport, may not know her name. Similar to EmKay having to Google Ludo's result from 2016. Lizzie Hawker, a giant of UTMB history, 15 years since her last victory. It's important to shout out the GOATs, especially for the newer fans to the sport. Also 15 years, as I said, Killian won Western States UTMB. Vincent trying to do that for the men. Comments on these 15-year anniversaries, Lizzie and Killian, before we move on.
I mean, it's exciting that Vincent is giving it a go, I think, because it's proven to be such a hard double. I mean, it's been 15 years since anyone's been able to do it. So I think it's always exciting when somebody goes for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are the individuals that inspired me when I first got into the sport. You know, the Killians, the Lizzie Hawkers. Like, I heard about their stories. I heard about their wins, and it was just like, man, I want to be like these guys, right? And so it's incredible to look back and be like, you know, these were the pioneers of UTMB. These are the ones that really took it to the next level. And now we're seeing that again. You know, we're seeing people like Vincent and Ruth and Courtney and, you know, chasing these things. And it's cool to see that.
Yeah. One quick anecdote on Lizzie Hawker. Kim and Topher Gaylord always tell this fun story about her, one of her UTMB victories. She was a North Face athlete at the time. Of course, North Face was the title sponsor of the event. Topher worked at the North Face, so was out crewing for her. And she did this, came into Courmayeur, and they were doing like a bit of a pack swap. And they were like pulling the stuff, the mandatory equipment out of one pack to put it in another pack. And all of a sudden they pull out a full apple, which was like nutrition for her. And then, of course, for those of us who've been coming to Europe for a long time, you know, sometimes you go to a hotel and they give you a key for your room with like a big heavy weight on it so that you don't lose it or whatever. That was also in her backpack. So these are a different era. But Lizzie Hawker, of course, an amazing athlete and somebody that we will be talking about and celebrating this week. 15 years since her last victory. 5 total UTMB championships for Lizzie Hawker, including 3 in a row, which we'll come back and talk about later.
Yeah, in the U.S., I think we talk a lot about Ann Trayson, right?
Yeah.
And her legendary status at Western States. Lizzie Hawker is the Anne Trayson of Europe.
That's exactly right.
She's the one that a lot of these Europeans, especially the European women, were inspired by.
Yeah.
And, she really changed the sport over here in Europe.
Yeah, we invited her to our champion show also, but she puts on the Ultra Trail de Monte Rosa in a couple of weeks. So she's deep in race director mode. So shout out Lizzie Hawker. Final thing before we move on, 20 years since the start of CCC. Important anniversary, 2-time champion here. Maybe we just comment on the stature of CCC now. I mean, it is just such an important, such a competitive, such an awesome race now, 20th anniversary.
Yeah, it's changed a lot over the years. I remember in 2017, I was pretty new to the sport. That was my first time, one of my first times racing here in Europe. And it was competitive. Don't get me wrong, but definitely wasn't as competitive as it was in 2024 when I won again. It's just getting more and more competitive every single year, deeper every single year. And I think the exciting thing about CCC is it seems to be a lot of the younger guys and girls that are coming into CCC because that's where they want to get their feet wet running in Europe.
Yep.
And it's not as scary as say UTMB.
Yep.
It runs a little bit more like maybe some North American type races.
Yep.
So you get all these younger people in their mid 20s, late 20s coming into CCC and they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're some of them are chasing sponsorship. Some of them are just new to sponsors and trying to prove a point. And it's so exciting. It's such an exciting race because of that, because you have all these very hungry, younger people that are really chasing it. Don't get me wrong, there's some older people as well.
Yeah.
But it's just a fun race to follow, and I love CCC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it especially becomes a great stepping stone for those of us who are from the US, and it's more time wise similar to maybe a 100-miler that you might run in the US. Instead of going from a Western States type 100-miler to a UTMB, you can go from something like a 15, 16-hour 100-miler to a 12-hour 100K instead of going all the way up to 20, 22 hours. And so, yeah, it provides a great opportunity to like you said, get your feet wet in Europe without just doing the big loop.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole
And there's
nother
a lot
game.
of racing involved with CCC,
Yeah.
close racing.
Yeah.
And there's always, people making moves. Not that UTMB doesn't have that, but doesn't have as much of that.
Yeah.
And it seems like in UTMB, once somebody gets a lead,
It's hard to make
it's
that up.
hard to make that up, right?
Yeah.
But CCC, it's always changing.
Yeah.
On the men's and the women's side. And so if you're interested in the sport and you're really want to watch an exciting race, definitely tune into CCC.
Okay. A bunch of stuff we're going to come back to
Yeah.
there. But Hayden Hawks, I was going back through the old results, the only 2-time winner in CCC history. And on the women's side, there's 3 that are going to be vying to become the first 2-time champion on the women's side. But we'll come back and talk about that later. But 20 years since CCC started, a lot of fun anniversaries we're celebrating here in the 2026 UTMB. Our next storyline, number 9, the big breaking news this week, Jim Walmsley, Kilian Jornet, both pull out on the same day. Let's start with this. Eventually, I want to talk about the past champions who are here and how that impacts their confidence and stuff. But maybe let's just start with the withdrawal of Jim and Kilian. How does it impact the UTMB field? You can get us started.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer, really, that both of those guys had to drop out. It'd be incredible to see them go head to head, but also just be in that field. And I ran into Kilian actually last week. We went on a little run together and we kind of talked for a little bit. And I could tell he was kind of dealing with some stuff. And then I was at camp with Jim recently and talking to him about it. We're all actually dealing with a very similar issue.
I was going to say the knees.
It's
Jim,
all
Kilian,
almost
Hayden?
exactly the same.
Yeah.
It affects us the same way. I know Jim talked about it in the show yesterday, and I feel the exact same way Jim does, because that's the exact same problem I'm dealing with right now too. It's really weird that all 3 of us literally have the same injury. I don't understand it. But yeah, I would have loved to see him in the race, and they make it a better race. They make it more exciting. But there's always next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that I think a lot of the men in the field probably after Western States maybe already felt a little bit more confident that they could beat somebody like a Kilian or Jim, because you never do know what is going to happen out there. And they've been pretty open about being kind of banged up over the last year. But now it just opens it up completely.
Yeah, it does. I think it probably makes Vincent and Ben Demon kind of the clear favorites on the men's side at UTMB. But one of the things I asked Jim about that I think is probably true is that it is an example of his maturation as an athlete. I do feel like a younger version of Jim would have still stepped to the start line and tried to thread the needle, even though he was physically compromised. I think it's a sign of, him growing into himself as an athlete to understand, like, I can't force my way through this. It's best to take a pause, take a beat, get fully healthy, and come back when I'm ready. But we do need some wizard witch doctor to find space for Killian, Jim, and Hayden to do some treatment that brings you all back to 100% in short order, because the sport needs you guys.
Yeah, and I have to give it to Jim, and I respect Jim for this, for opening up about it.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, a younger Jim wouldn't have done that. But now he's opening up about it. He's talking about what's going on, and I think that's going to help other people.
Yeah.
I know it's helped me, and like we're actually helping each other. We're bouncing a lot of ideas off each other and really trying to help each other get through this. And I guarantee you, they're going to come back stronger, because I know that I'm going to come back stronger, and the stuff that we're doing now is going to allow us to do that. And I guarantee both those guys are going to do that. Like, this isn't it for any of us, right? Yeah. This is just a little hiccup. We'll get through it. And I mean,
it's
I'm
part
excited.
of the game. When you're one of the best athletes in the world, you are going to have hiccups when you push it to the level that you need to now to compete on a world-class stage like UTMB. Eventually, your body will rebel to some degree. And it sounds like, Jim still feels confident that he can race this year. I bumped into Killian yesterday too. He feels like it'll be something that's fairly simple. He is going to have an operation on it, but he thinks it's a pretty straightforward thing. Not entirely sure your situation, but we all
I feel
have
the same
confidence
way.
you guys will be back.
Yeah, I'm progressing, and it's just, I'm learning a lot and progressing, and I will race by the end of this year.
Great.
But yeah, it's just going to take some time, and sometimes you just need to step back and be mature enough to make those decisions, and know that, it's a short time so that you can have many years to come. Like I said, the goal is Ludo, right? And I have to take the time now so I can be like Ludo.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think all the other athletes in the field, like I was talking to some of the other guys at camp, like Rod and Vincent, like, yeah, they're confident, but they're also like, they're upset that guys like Jim and Killian had to pull out.
Totally, yeah.
And that I had to pull out, because it's just like, you want to be in the field with
Racing
all
the
of the
best,
best runners. You want to race with the best, right? And so like, even though like, yeah, maybe it gives them a better chance of winning per se, and it does, because Killian and Jim are just next level.
Yeah.
At the same time, they're bummed. They're upset that they can't race those guys.
Yeah. That's a heart of a champion, or mindset of a champion too. It's like, you want to do battle against the best, and two of the best of all time, unfortunately, will not be on the start line at UTMB, which will, and makes us fans a little bit sad, but won't diminish the significance of winning this year for whoever does go over the top. Before we move on, we do have a lot of past champions who are here. So just want to give some shout outs to them. In the CCC women's field specifically, we have 3 past champions: Yao Miao, Tony McCann, and Ingvild Kaspersen. We also have Petter Engdahl, who's going to OCC. He's been a CCC champion. John Albin's running UTMB. We're going to talk about him in a sec. Blandine Lahirondelle, who's one of the best, like almost in that Lizzie Hawker category for people who have performed well here. Ruth Croft, obviously, who's done the trifecta, is back. Francesco Puppi, Pau Capel. So a lot of great champions. Hayden, again, you're a 2-time champion here on the world's biggest stage. When you do have that experience, does that give you an advantage to have the muscle memory of running into Chamonix in the lead of the race? Does it maybe give you some sort of psychological edge when you have that experience?
Oh, 100%. I made my debut here and won in 2017. That was a bit of luck, I think, to be completely honest with you. When I came back in 2024, it was a lot easier win. It felt very easy to me. And I think the reason being is because I knew exactly how to execute. I knew exactly how to race. I knew exactly where the moves were needed to be made, or where moves might be made, and I needed to respond. Like, you just learn how to run the course, and then you just literally do the same thing you did last time, and it seems to work, right? And I think like Jim winning Western States, 4 times, like same thing. He just knows how to run Western States. And so like all he has to do is go and execute the same way he did before. And like, then it comes to the other people to try and find a way to beat them, right? Experience means so much on these courses. It really does.
I remember when we did your champions interview after CCC 2024, because on the live broadcast, they caught a moment where you were running with Peterman and Seth Ruling, I think it was, and you stopped at a fountain in a little village and filled up your water bottle just before the aid station at La Folie. Those guys stopped at the aid station at La Folie. You got in and out quicker, and that was basically the winning moment, it felt like, or at least something that felt significant to me as an observer. And you said in that interview that was 100% planned, 100% intentional. I knew where that fountain was, and it was part of my race plan to fill up there. Those other guys didn't have that experience that they could pull from, and maybe that's the moment that puts you over the top. Very, very interesting, and we're going to be paying attention to all those past champions.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually watching some video with Hans, too, the other day. We were sitting in the chalet watching some videos, giving him some tips as well. He's a good friend of mine. But anyways, we were watching Poopy from last year and some of like his aid station transitions, and you could tell that Poopy's raced here before and he has experience. Like there were certain things that he was doing through the aid stations where it was like, I don't think anybody, like a new person probably wouldn't do that. But because Francesco Poopy has raced OCC, he's been on this course a lot, like he knew where things were. And there were moments where he broke away just because of that.
Yeah. So cool. So awesome. All right, our eighth storyline, moving on, as we have just talked about a bunch of legends from UTMB history, there's a lot of new talent here for the first time. People that are not necessarily new to the sport, but are making debuts in Chamonix, a very elite crop. I'm just going to list off some names here before tossing it to the panel. Rachel Entrekin making UTMB debut after her meteoric rise in the sport. Lauren Gregory going for OCC. Tove Alexanderson, potentially the most exciting athlete in the sport at the moment. Frederick Tranchand, a world champion in short trail last year. Molly Seidel, Olympic medalist doing OCC. Andreu Blanes, very good Spaniard doing OCC. Hans Troyer, you just mentioned, first time in Chamonix doing CCC. McKenna Morley, potential great dark horse in the OCC field. That's 8 athletes, 6 of whom are doing OCC this year, so in the shorter distance events. Tossing it to the panel, EmKay, you can get us started because a lot of this is OCC focused, but you know, in general, speak on this talented crop and you know how you view their potential performance.
Yeah, I mean, athletes like Lauren and Molly and McKenna, you know, especially with this course change, if they put themselves in the right positions at somewhere like Col de Balme, like they have a lot of potential to get on the podium. But they're also obviously walking into like a very, very talented field to begin with. I think it's something like 4 of the top 6 women from OCC are returning. Or no, it's 4 of the top 5 with Miao Yao being the only one out. And so we were just talking about these courses experience is huge. We saw that with Ludo's graphic, just talking to Hayden about his 2 CCC wins. And so, yes, they have like a very good chance of putting themselves on the podium, but it will take a lot more work, I think, than if they just walk into a lot of other races. Tove, on the other hand, I think is a bit of an anomaly in that sense. It doesn't seem like she needs that much experience on any course to absolutely obliterate any course record. And I just see kind of Tove's chance, I guess, is like the only person who can beat Tove right now is Tove. So, you know, does that mean that she just like slips up and has a bad day? I don't know. I've seen her take some pretty gnarly falls and continue to smash courses. But I mean, I'm super excited for Frederick Tranchand as like one of the debutantes, because even though he hasn't run this course, he's very experienced just in racing in Europe in general, whereas a lot of the American women are not necessarily. And so, yeah, I think he's somebody who could definitely race his way to a win first go round.
Yeah. Hayden, interested in your input on this too. Maybe you could speak specifically about Hans, because he's an interesting case in that he could take it one of 2 directions, right? Like take a swing, go for the win, which is probably his strategy, probably his goal. But also, we've just been talking about the importance of gaining experience here, and it could also be wise for him, especially in an early stage of his career, to use this as an opportunity to just gain experience, put a solid one on the board, but not take the Grand Slam type swing at it. Speak in general about these debutantes, but maybe specifically about Hans.
Yeah, I think you need to run your own race, and you need to do what you're comfortable with. Like, I think changing up your plan or your strategy is never really good. Like, do you, be yourself. I know like that's what I did when I first came here, and it worked for me. Right. And so like, I would say like with a lot of these new athletes, like don't treat it any differently than you would any other race, because like, yeah, it is different. It's big, but like, if you don't treat it that way, you'll probably end up having a good day.
Yeah.
You'll do what you need to do. I think also like we're talking about all these stars, right? But there are so many like up and coming athletes that are debuting here as well this weekend that are hungry and excited. And I'd say like the advice I'd give those guys too is like, I know you're wanting a contract or you're wanting to go out there and prove a point, right?
Yeah.
But run your own race, be smart, do what you need to do, and like don't go crazy, because we see that every year. There's a lot of people that just go out super, super hard and they end up blowing up.
Yeah. And
gotta race for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked over many years here at UTMB about sometimes there's just massive attrition because of that phenomenon of people just taking huge swings in a place in their career when maybe it's better to build experience. So you, in all likelihood, have a better chance of earning that coveted contract if you just race wisely, try and put a solid one on the board, and take advantage of some of that reckless racing and the attrition that follows from it. Very interesting.
It's so easy to do that here though, because there's so many cameras, excitement,
everybody's
right?
fit,
It feels like a big thing, and like it is like this is the biggest race in our sport, and it feels that way. And also like if you do perform here, it changes your career.
Your life. Yeah.
Like when I won here, it literally changed everything.
That was so early in your career.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool to reflect on that. All right.
We gotta talk about Rachel real quick, because we did miss her in this, but I'm excited to see Rachel out here, because the only time that we have seen her race these women in any sense is like Chianti, right? When she went toe to toe with Courtney and Yingvold. Obviously Yingvold's not in the UTMB field, but she's got Ruth and like Lucy's on a heater right now. Yeah. It'll be fun to see her mix it up in an even longer form race, because obviously we know that the further she goes, the better she is. So yeah, that's exciting.
She seems super ready. We did a pre-race interview with her and commented on a couple of things. One, the late start and going straight into the night potentially plays into her hands, which sometimes does throw pro athletes off, especially people who are used to racing in the US. She is totally comfortable running through the night alone and solo. The other thing she said is, I've done a couple 150-mile weeks with 40,000 feet of climbing. So she's putting in the volume to do this 108-mile lap. Anyway, we're going to talk more about Rachel throughout the week. Let's move on. Our number 7 storyline here, Blandine Lehirondelle and Jonathan Albin going for the trifecta, meaning they're trying to go 3 for 3 for the UTMB World Finals. Both already have championships at OCC and CCC. The only people to get the trifecta in UTMB history are Xavier Thebnard, Ruth Croft, both first ballot Hall of Famers, legends of the game at the highest degree. Blandine and John, both running UTMB to try and complete the trifecta in general. Hayden, you can get us started on this. Just like, what does it say about an athlete that they can compete across these 3 distances? And maybe you could just share your thoughts on the 2 athletes and their potential this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I respect athletes that can do that so much. Like that is the goal for me and for my whole entire career. That's been the goal, is that I can compete across all distances. And like athletes say like Ruth Croft, who's done it, she's one of my favorite athletes, if not my favorite athlete. Same. She really is. And a lot of it is her attitude or personality, but also that she's done this trifecta. So I would love to see it. Like John Albin, I actually look a lot at his training as well and what he does. And he's very smart with how he trains and how he does things and how he races. And yeah, like I think it's really cool to see an athlete that can compete on all 3 levels. And John's also really competed on the even shorter ones, like Marathon du Mont Blanc and stuff like that.
I mean, he's an obstacle course racing world champion.
Yeah.
He's just a great athlete.
Yeah, he's a great athlete, exactly. And I think he's
kind of flying under the radar a little bit too.
Yeah, I was actually talking
to sure.
guys. Yeah, I was talking to guys about this, and I'm like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, he won Trans Gran Canaria earlier this year, like dominated.
Yeah.
Like, but I have looked at John's results. So John wins everything.
Yeah.
He literally wins everything. He has had, a handful of DNFs over the years. So it seems like he either wins or he DNFs. And of course he DNF'd here last year.
Yep.
But I think
he was having a good race.
Yeah.
And he just DNF'd at Mont Blanc Marathon, which is probably why a lot of people are just not really having him up top, but it's it's John Albin. If he's on, he's on.
Totally.
Yeah.
His only 100-mile experience was, I think, a 6th place performance at Western States. This course is much more in his wheelhouse.
And I'm pretty sure he was sick that year.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. I know he wasn't happy with the performance, even though he ran 14:45 or something like that. So John Albin, basically as good as it gets on the men's side. He is a factor at UTMB. I could see him getting the trifecta. Blandino Hirondelle, like I just said.
She's one of the greatest to do it.
Ever. Was 4th at CCC last year. She's been on the podium of UTMB. So she has the trifecta of podiums, but of course wants to get that W. All of these athletes are going to have their work cut out for them, but certainly both are going to be contenders for
and
the
Blondine's
victory.
French.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is home soil for her. She's got all of her family and fans, and that really helps a lot having that home field advantage.
Yeah.
And I think she's just somebody that's she's figuring out the 100-mile distance, because if you think about it, she still is relatively new to the 100-mile distance. And UTMB, as we know, is a very challenging race. So I could see her just clicking, getting it done.
She did win Diagonal des Fous.
Yeah.
I think that was last year.
It was,
which is a race that is objectively harder.
Yes.
So she's got what it takes. Before we move off this, I have some fun stats here. So people to podium all the world final events, like I said, Blandine is the only one. No, plus Katie Scheid also has podiumed.
3rd at OCC?
She's 3rd at OCC.
And then
I think
she's
she was
won both CCC.
Second, it's CCC.
I think she hasn't won it?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
People to win 2 of the 3 races, Tony McCann, OCC, CCC, Yao Miao, OCC, CCC, Tom Evans, CCC, UTMB, Walmsley, OCC, UTMB. We talked about John and Blandine and Francesco, OCC and CCC. So that's a great list of Hall of Fame athletes there to have done 2 of the 3. People with podiums at 2 of the 3. Pau Capel, CCC, UTMB. Ludo, CCC, UTMB. Tim Tollefson, same thing. Shout out Tim. He's doing Leadville this weekend. We love you, Tim. Zach Miller, back in the field this year. Mimi Kotka. Talked about John Albin, Thibaut Baronian, Petter Engdahl is back, Scotty Hawker. Those are people who have podiumed 2 of the 3. Just some fun stats. But in general, collecting 1 podium at one of these world final events, career-defining achievement. Yeah. If you can get multiple podiums and wins on this stage, it puts you in a different classification as an athlete, and we should recognize people who have been able to race consistently on the stage. One of them joining us in studio.
Yeah, I mean, these are all household names, right? When we talk about trail running and ultra running, everybody you mentioned there's a household name.
Totally.
But I think it's because they've won here or they've podiumed here.
Yep. All right, great points. Our number 6 storyline, moving on, Continental Shifts is the title of this one. Just an interesting thing I was thinking about this week. All right, we always talk about the rise of Asia, and this year we've got a great crop. Sunmaya Buddha making a UTMB debut, Yao Miao, Ho Ha, Gumendang, Shen Jishen, Fu Zhaozhang. So this is, China, Vietnam, Nepal. The rise of Asia is a storyline in the sport. Japan, we have some great athletes here as well. We're also starting to see the rise of Latin America. Joaquin Lopez was on the podium of UTMB a couple of years ago. Jupiter Carrera Casas has been great, a Mexican athlete. Jen Lichter, naturalized American, but born in Colombia, obviously a factor to win CCC this year. The thing that we're not seeing is Africa, right? And this has been something that we've thought about and talked about over the last couple of years. When are Patrick and Philemon and El Hussein going to come race OCC or even ETC, the shorter distance event? So I just think this is interesting. Obviously, North America and Europe are continents that are well represented here and have been historically. We now see the rise of Asia, the rise of Latin America, but still the absence of Africa, with the exception of Tony McCann, South African 2-time champion here. Comments just on the continental shifts that we're observing here. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's kind of interesting. This is such an international race. We are seeing a lot of new and developing nations and continents, but also the absence of Africa. EmKay, get us started.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of that is obviously just like opportunity. We see a lot more races, especially in the UTMB world, happening in Asia, in South America, places like that. And if you can win one of those races, maybe you get a little bit more eyes on you, somebody picks you up, and then you have more opportunities to race and train, because as we all know, this sport is very expensive and to get out here is expensive. But it does kind of blow my mind that the Kenyans haven't even done ETC now that you bring that up, because it does feel like a lot of them live over here in Austria and like in France for much of this part of the year. So like
El Hussein lives in Switzerland.
Yeah, El Hussein's in Switzerland. Like OCC, I kind of understand, because I think throwing a 60K in between like a Pitts Alpine Sears and all double and then the Asia races this year is maybe a little much for some athletes. But ETC feels like it would make some amount of sense and you just get some good exposure, but it's probably like a bonus situation if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the brands aren't like bonusing it that they run for. I'm not sure. And maybe the brands just really want them to focus on the Golden Trail World Series, right? Yeah. And they want them to gain exposure in there and win those races. And so, but I think that's going to change. Like we're already seeing, and I think that's why we've seen the rise of, say, like Asia. Yeah. A lot of the brands are now bringing the athletes out here for a month before the race and putting them up to where they can actually come out here and train and be together as a team. Yeah. Like we have our camp here, our HOKA camp, and we have like a house that's just the Chinese athletes, and they cook all their, like they bring like an extra bag with them full of Chinese food because it is foreign, like the food and everything, right? And it can be difficult to like live and train here if you're not used to it, but they bring all their food, they cook it up, they share it with us sometimes, which is amazing. But yeah, like I think that will change as the brands start supporting it and giving these people the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. And we shouldn't dance around it. Obviously, last year, Joylene Chepneno won OCC and then had that win vacated. Joylene, of course, a Kenyan athlete, tested positive at Sears and all. That test wasn't revealed until after OCC. Both those results ended up being vacated. A very sad moment at OCC last year. But it will be interesting as we start to see, the East Africans, people like El Hussein from Morocco start to target Chamonix on their racing calendar and see how that.
I know there was a rumor that El Hussein was going to run this year.
I mean, all have been hearing that.
So I know it's on his radar, and I'm pretty sure it's probably on the other guys' radar too. And
could you imagine? It would be so fun.
He's someone that doesn't even need any more Golden Trail points at this point. So he could definitely have done something like OCC, taken a bit of a break, and then just gone to the final, because that's not until like end of September, maybe early October. Yeah. So like, it could be done at this point, but
hopefully next year. Please, if you're listening, we want to see you here. Okay. All right, moving on to number 5. Before we do, a big thank you to HOKA for supporting our coverage all week. Hayden, I put that Tecton X4 on today. Did 4x8 minute tempos. No big deal. Don't want to brag. That is the best shoe. In my opinion, the best HOKA shoe ever, the Tecton X4. It's got that super foam in it, the parallel plates. You want to comment on your partner's HOKA and the products they're producing, the Tecton X4 included?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent shoe. Like I've ran in all the Tecton series from 1 now to 4, and they just keep improving every single year. Like I loved Tecton X3. I won a lot of races in Tecton X3, but I think Tecton X4 is even better. Yeah. And for me, it feels a bit more stable. And so it's perfect for the trails out here where maybe you need a little bit more stability. Great responsive foam. It's an awesome shoe.
That white colorway with sort of the orange highlights too, it just looks super clean and fast. And that, of course, makes you feel and run a little bit faster. Shout out to HOKA for all their great support. Couple of things to note. On Tuesday, we're doing a live interview with Vincent Bouillard over at the HOKA Fly Lab. Wednesday, we're doing our champion show over at the Fly Lab. And then I think it's Thursday, we're doing Hans Troyer's pre-race interview over there as well. We'll update all that stuff accordingly to make sure it's accurate, but come see us live at the HOKA Fly Lab. We're also doing the group run on Tuesday from La Folie Douce. Hayden might be there. The whole Freetrail team is going to be there. I know Hayden's doing a bunch of HOKA stuff this week. Go to hoka.com and grab some great gear from our friends and partners. Moving on, our 5th storyline, the dominance of the French men, and will it continue? Recent history. Ludovic Pomeray, Francois Den, Xavier Thevenard, Vincent Bouillard, Those 4 legends account for 9 victories in the last 14 years. That alone is a great stat. Brett's going to bring up something that will drive this point home even more. This is just podiums by nationality. You see France has really been dominant here at UTMB. It's not surprising. They do have a bit of a home court advantage, but specifically this year, the men is kind of the story. If we look at what we consider, a lot of us in the sport, the 4 major 100-milers, Diagonal des Fous, Western States, Hard Rock, UTMB. Mathieu Blanchard won Diagonal des Fous. Vincent Bouillard won Western States. Ludovic Pomeray won Hard Rock. Now we're here at UTMB. Could they go 4 for 4? I mean, even going back to last year, the French team won the Long Trail World Championship. Francois Den gets the GR20 FKT back. Aurelien Sanchez just gets the PCT FKT. The French men have just been in a league of their own in long mountainous races and FKTs. Will they keep the momentum going? And what do we attribute this to? Hayden, you can get us started.
Well, as a proud American, I hope that this changes. So, no, I joke with the guys all the time at HOKA. I'm like, hey, you guys got to stop winning. Like, especially our races. Yeah. Like, don't be winning Western States and Hard Rock. It's up to us to take that back, right? But anyways, no, I think I attribute it to just the culture out here. It's amazing when you come out here to France. Like, the people just love the mountains. They love training out here. It's ingrained in them, from when they're kids, and they get the opportunity to come to these, races and watch, their heroes and the legends of the sport. And that inspires them to start getting on the trails when they're young. And we're seeing a push now with youth programs and youth initiative to get the youth out on the trails so that they can meet their heroes and they can have these opportunities to do this, right? And that's only going to inspire, people from all around the world. Yeah. That's the future of this sport. But I think the French are really good at, they've already been doing that, and getting their, the younger guys to love the mountains and love the sport at an early age. And now we're seeing them come out and just win these big mountain races. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see that, like you were talking about the French team winning Long Trail Worlds. They have won many, many team gold medals, at these world championships, and they invest in those teams. They send them out to camps, no matter where the world championships are, much ahead of time so that they can see the whole course. Which is something that a lot of other teams don't do. Like the Spanish team did that this year, but it was a home course. Yeah. And so, they've invested a lot of their time into being the greatest in the world, and it shows. And
the French are wildly passionate fans of the sport. I mean, people like Francois, Ludo, Theo Detien, Mathieu Blanchard, these guys have hundreds of thousands of followers. They are national heroes in their country, which is just something that we don't have in the US. Of course, Hayden Hawks should have millions of followers and be on the Today Show, right? The equivalent of that is happening in France with these French athletes. So it is culturally more significant here. Just want to name check a few of the French guys who will be trying to keep the momentum going and get this season-long sweep of the major 100-milers. Of course, Vincent Bouillard, we're going to talk about him in a little bit. Baptiste Chassain has been on the podium here. We know that experience counts. Theo Detien, like I said, he was in the lead through, I think, Courmayeur last year before ultimately pulling out. Again, he's a big celebrity. Antoine Charvelin won TDS last year, stepping up to UTMB. Baptiste Cotantiec. There's a great list of Frenchmen who will be contending for that victory at UTMB next Saturday afternoon here in Chamonix. But the Frenchmen is definitely a storyline we will revisit after all the results come in. We'll evaluate how they performed here.
It's not just the men. I mean, look at it, it's the women too.
Yeah, the women too.
The French women, they're leading as well.
Well, actually, we're going to come back and talk about that in a sec. Yeah, because, okay, we'll save that for just a sec. Next, I want to move on to Stats Corner, and Hayden, you're going to have a lot to contribute here. Brett, if you can bring up Tom Evans' stats from last year. Basically, we're going to cover just 2 quick things, adding some stats. And the first one, I want to talk about the critical moment that is the Grand Col Ferret, especially obviously UTMB and Hayden with your experience at CCC. What we're looking at here are the splits from Arnouvaz, the aid station at the bottom of the Grand Col Ferret, to the splits at the top of the Grand Col Ferret from the lead men in last year's UTMB. What we see here, Tom Evans and Ben Demon were separated by, I think it was 20 seconds at Arnuva. Tom had more than a 6-minute advantage at the top. Game was over the top of the Grand Col Ferret. Lead grew from there. Actually, Ben was in here yesterday and talked about at about 100K, things started to fall apart. We see it in the numbers here. Moving over to the women quickly. Same is true on the women's side with Ruth Croft. What we'll see here is she was behind Courtney Dauwalter and Camille Bruyas coming into Arnuva last year. Made up almost 5 minutes on Courtney on the climb to the Grand Col Ferret. We will all remember when Ruth ultimately caught Courtney just beyond La Foulie last year before the climb up to Champex-Lac. But basically the point is the Grand Col Ferret, a critical moment, comes at 100K. For the women, it's like legit as night turns the day. For men, it's a little bit before that. But 100K in, important moment at UTMB. Also at CCC. I remember seeing you at Refugio Bonatti. You were in like 15th place, chilling out. You had the lead at the top of the Grand Col, eventually went on to win. Get us started. You know, obviously the stats sort of tell the story here, but why is the Grand Col Ferret so important?
Yeah, I don't know how much I want to share here, but
all your secrets.
It's a bit of a secret. But so I think so Grand Col Ferret, right? After Grand Col Ferret, you have a really, really long descent, like the longest descent in any of the races. And a lot of people push that descent really, really hard, and they end up blowing their legs up. And then by the time they get to the next climbs, you know, you have some really big climbs to come after that. They have no legs because they've completely shattered them on the downhill coming off of Grand Col Ferret. So my thought, and this has always worked for me, and I think it works for a lot of athletes like we're seeing, is that you push Grand Col Ferret. You push the balcony trail and then the Grand Col Ferret and gain time. And then if you have enough time on the top of the Grand Col Ferret, then you can just chill on the downhill. And so you don't end up having to blow your quads up. And then everybody else is chasing you on that downhill, and they might gain some minutes on you, but you're not putting in as much effort and you're saving your legs. And then by the time you get to the climbs up to Champex-Lac and so forth and so on, you can push those climbs.
They're dragging ass and you can push.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because they're just done because they've pushed themselves so hard on that downhill, and people bomb that downhill so hard.
It's so runnable.
It's so runnable and so long.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like it's a hard surface because you're running on pavement and stuff for a lot of it. And so, I think it's crucial. This is why we see people winning that are leading at the top of Grand Col Ferret. And it can be a strategy that some people can use. And I think it works.
Yeah. EmKay, anything you want to add here?
No, I'll let Hayden take that one.
Yeah, I think very well said. And again, the stats tell the story here. There's another thing I want to touch on before we move on. The field strength across the world final events. Brett's going to pull this up. So, of course, the UTMB Big Lap is the premier race here. Always will be, and for good reason. But this world final structure and format that UTMB has implemented going back 5-6 years at this point, I think has been uniquely positive for the sport and obviously positive for this event. What we're looking at here is the average UTMB index score for the top 50 men and women per field. So what we see highlighted in yellow is it signifies that the women's race at UTMB is the most competitive women's race of the week. But then on the men's side, we see that OCC is the most competitive race by this UTMB index average measurement. We are splitting hairs here. It's very close across the board. The thing that I just want to sort of drive home for fans who are going to be tuning in all week is that obviously UTMB is the premier race, but CCC and OCC are absolutely world-class. We at Freetrail try to cover them with the same enthusiasm that we do UTMB, and we think you as fans should be paying attention to these races in the same way that you do for the long course event and the full lap. Comments from the panel. EmKay, you can get us started. What does this say to you? Why should fans care?
I mean, I think it's incredibly impressive that we went all the way back to top 50 in each field, and you're still getting like such a close margin in terms of like the points. Like, you know, the difference between 753 and 761 on the women's side is like pretty negligible. And I think people would maybe expect that out of like the top 20 in a race in all of these races, but to go top 50 and for all of these to still be so close, I think just shows you how competitive and deep these fields are.
Yeah. Hayden. You have obviously experience racing at all three events. You've been most successful at CCC, but comments on what these stats say?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting for the sport. You know, hasn't always been this way.
Yeah.
I think, especially with OCC being, you know, the rise of OCC, that's been really cool to see. I feel like UTMB and CCC have always kind of been the pinnacle races, the most competitive, deepest fields. But now OCC is starting to, I mean, on the men's side, it's the most competitive according to these stats. And so like, that's really cool to see, because like OCC is a race that a lot of spectators can watch, or people that are just getting introduced to the sport. It's a shorter event.
It's like a 6-hour live stream.
Yeah. I mean, that's still pretty long, but you can watch it right in a day. Yeah. And
it's like a stage of the Tour de France.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much movement going on and racing going on. It's a really exciting race to follow.
Yeah. All right. So again, we'll revisit this throughout the week, but all three events are going to be so freaking exciting. And we're doing individual dedicated preview shows for all three of the World Final events. So stick around and check those out. Moving on, our number 3 storyline, I titled this one Legends versus the Field. This is what we're coming back to here. Okay. So Katie, Courtney, and Ruth have won the last 6 UTMBs. Of course, all three of them are on the Mount Rushmore of trail running. Only Courtney and Ruth are back. Of course, Katie's been dealing with a foot issue for the better part of a year. We'll miss Katie. Of course, Courtney and Ruth probably are viewed by a lot of people as the favorites. Both obviously have a chance to secure victories here for the 4th and 2nd time in their incredible careers. A European woman hasn't won since 2018. That's what I wanted to come back to. The French women, of course, and the European women in general, very, very strong. But the truth is, a European woman hasn't won at UTMB since 2018. The idea about this storyline to me is that with the way that the sport is progressing, that even these Mount Rushmore type legends, like it's becoming a situation where it's just still not a foregone conclusion that they're going to win. So again, I titled this Legends versus the Field. I was going to include Jim and Killian in the storyline as well. Of course, they just pulled out, because the same is true, right? If Jim and Killian were in the field, it doesn't necessarily mean that one of them is guaranteed to win. Comments just on the increased parity, the depth of competition, and in general, like the Ruth and Courtney duo on the women's side and the rest of the women who are going to be vying to knock them off the pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Courtney and Ruth know this course a lot better than maybe some of the, like, we'll call them newbies. But even a lot of these women have run this race before, like Abby Hall, Lucy Bartholomew. Sunmaya is a newbie to the course, but she's run CCC like a couple of times. Esther's run this course many times. Blondine has run the course twice now already. So they come away as like the favorites, but I don't think that that's necessarily like a guarantee on, you know, it's such a long day that anything can happen out there. I mean, I think we even saw that when Ruth won, right? Yeah. Like everybody was like, Courtney's got this in the bag because it's Courtney. And when she passed Ruth, everyone was like, holy cow, Ruth's going to win this thing, you know? So,
yeah, I do. Going back to the experience, I do think experience does pay off here, or just experience in general when it comes to these long races where you have to do all these little things. Like we saw last year, and this was really uncommon to see this. Courtney made a mistake, right? She didn't put on her rain jacket. Yep. And maybe that came back to haunt her and bite her, you know, but Ruth did. And
Ruth put the pants on.
Ruth put the pants on. She kept herself warm, and then she was able to, you know, keep going and pass the field. And so like we look at that and it's like maybe a new person wouldn't make that same decision, right?
Great point.
So that was, I say it's uncommon for Courtney to do that because she does have that. Yeah. I don't know why. But then you look at like Rachel Intrican, right? Rachel has experience in even longer stuff than this, where she really has to take care of herself, where she has to put the jacket and the pants on numerous times. And so like, I think that experience will help someone like her. And so like we could see someone take down a legend. But I think if it's going to be that, like, it would be someone like Rachel that does that.
One thing that would be fun for you to comment on too, Hayden, is like, as we talk about the increased parity, like you've been at the top of the game for a decade or more at this point, one of the best ever. Are you feeling in this era like you need to find ways to step your game up in a way that you didn't, say, 5 years ago because of the increased talent, the increased density?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel pretty solid with the, like, who I am and what I'm able to do in my training and everything. And I still feel like people are trying to find out how to do that. Right. And I feel like with experience over time, it's only gotten better. Yeah. Like I've been able to dial my nutrition and hydration, and that takes time. Yeah. You know, a lot of these young athletes, even though they might be more talented and they might have all the speed and everything, they don't have those experiences. Yeah. Like a lot of them make nutrition and hydration problems, and you know, and we see that often. We see that often.
I would say that I think, especially the longer you go, experience is definitely more important than talent. I think you can get away with a lot of stuff like in 50K and below, but even it's something like CCC, maybe you can still make a couple of mistakes, but especially like the big loop, like experience is so much more than just like how hard are you training, I think.
Great points.
I mean, I do have to be on top of my training. Don't get me wrong. And I have to make sure that I'm doing all the little things. But that's also experience.
That's years and years of like building miles and like all the little things.
But it's not just about who does the most miles.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
It's not just about who, you know, has the best training. Like there's plenty of people out here that you look at their Strava and be like, they're going to win this race. Yeah. And I guarantee they won't.
It's about the puzzle pieces.
I mean, yesterday in studio here, we weren't recording, but Jim was in here and he handed off like a light to Ryan. And it was, I won't go into the details, but it showed a glimpse into like how detailed Jim thinks about gear and execution. Yep. It's like the type of thing that you just don't get a visual into. And like that, obviously you do need to have the talent. You do need to have the experience. But then also you do have to figure out your process when it matters on the race course. And that is the thing that separates the good athletes from the great athletes. Yeah. And this is the stage where it's exemplified, isn't it? Okay.
Going back to Ludo.
Yeah.
There's no reason a 50-year-old person probably should be winning these big of races, right?
And getting faster every time.
Yeah. If we look at like, if we wanted like, you know, bring that up, like, but he does. Yeah. It's because of this experience. And like, he's not the most talented, fastest guy out in the field, but he shows up every year and takes top 10 at UTMB. It looks like he's suffering
whenever he's running. You know? Shout out to Ludo. Hope that La Chapelle is going well for you right now as we record. Moving on, our number 2 storyline here. Jen Lichter, Vincent Bouillard doubling back from Western States. Let's take them individually, starting with Jen. Hayden Hawks, 2024, finished 3rd at Western States, then won at CCC. Jen Lichter's trying to pull off the same double, of course, course record at Western States. Can she keep more than a year-long unbeaten streak going? Just speak generally about the difficulty of threading that needle, tagging both of them in a high-performant way, and what you think about Jen's chances as she steps to CCC.
Yes, she can. Yeah. She can 100% do it because it's Jen Lichter. Yes. And she's an incredible athlete, incredible person. She's very smart with her training. She's very dialed, like we just talked about the dialed. She's very dialed. And she has a great team, a great support system, a great coach that's guiding her, you know, that has been here before and has helped other athletes achieve success here. And I think like for me, I think the reason why I had so much success in 2024 with that double was, one, I didn't race a lot early season. Like, I raced Black Canyon in February, but then I didn't race the entire spring. And then I raced Western States CCC. So I saved myself, right? And I had enough time to recover and do the things I need to do. The other thing is I didn't force training after Western States. And I don't know 100% what Jen's been doing, but I feel like she's pretty smart and probably doing what she needs to be doing. But I remember like I would go out on runs with people out here in Chamonix that year, and they would be like, oh, we're doing, 3 hours. And I'd be like, oh, I'm only doing 90 minutes. And instead of forcing 3 hours, I'd cut off and do my 90 minutes and do what I need to do. And I was running less miles than almost everybody that I was competing with at CCC. But the reason being is like, the fitness had already been built. Yeah. The fitness had been built before Western States. And all I need to do is maintain that and make sure I recovered and not force things and just dial in a few things, get a bit specific. And I was able to do that and have that success at CCC. So I hope that Jen's thinking the same way and doing the same thing. And I'm sure she is. And if she is, I 100% believe she can do this. And I would love to see it. I would love to see her break the course record at CCC.
That'd be incredible.
I mean, she's definitely someone who can. And she actually has done the exact same thing that you did as well. Like, she only raced Black Canyon, then she went to Western States. Now she's coming to CCC.
She did Gorge in the middle.
She did Gorge 50K.
Gorge makes champions as
She
well.
did Gorge 50K. Yeah. But nothing like terribly long. You know, that's more of like a good tune-up race. And I mean, Jen is one of the grittiest racers I have ever lined up against.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that she would be on the starting line if she didn't think that she was like recovered enough to win, because she's also very smart at this point. She's had her injuries in the past and she's not trying to get back there. So
yeah, a couple things come to mind. Number one, she DNF'd at OCC in 2023.
yeah, she and I rode the chairlift down together in tears.
Yeah. With Danny too, wasn't it?
Danny dropped out a lot earlier because she was
okay.
super sick, but yeah.
So the type of mentality that she brings and the competitive drive that she brings, I bet she's hungry to avenge that. And also like kind of to your guys' point of her, she wouldn't start if she didn't feel like she could compete. The best example of that is the World Championships last year, right? Like, she came and sat in studio with us in Confranc just to commentate, and she had a little bit of a hamstring issue. It was not serious, but it was serious enough to where she felt like she wasn't gonna be able to race at her best, and she chose to not start wisely. Here, the fact that she's lining up, she seems fit, confident, and she did say on the cast she did really prioritize recovery. And it is funny to think of the analog with you, Hayden, the Black Canyon, Western States, CCC. Of course, Jen did throw Gorge in there too, but like, feels like a clean season.
Yeah, the training is actually very similar between Western States and CCC, and those races run very similar.
Similar time almost.
Time. It's a similar type of running that you have to do, like, especially if you don't use poles.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually a really good double, and it's an easy double, not easy double, but it's a double that you can execute if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring up a point with what you said with Jen.
Yeah.
She's so mature for her age.
Totally.
She's so mature, but I think the reason being is people don't know this or realize this, but Jen has had some hiccups early on in her career. She had an injury.
She was out for almost 2 years.
Yeah, big injuries.
Yeah.
She DNF'd OCC, like we just talked about, right? You learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing that you can have happen to you is get injured or have a bad race, because then you come back from that and you mature and you don't force things and you learn how to just do things properly. Sometimes when you don't have that, like, you just don't make those same decisions. And so, I have to give it up to her. She's very, very mature. She's learned from her mistakes.
Hopefully she's got one more in her and then she can punch out for the year, go get married next month and celebrate the greatest year of her life turning 30 in 2026. Okay, we got to talk about Vincent too. Brett, bring this up. So the doubles, of course, we mentioned this at the top. Vincent trying to become the first man in 15 years to win Western States and UTMB in the same year. Last person to do it, of course, was Kilian Jornet. He still holds the fastest ever time. Kilian does from 2011, 36 hours and 11 minutes combined. We got to give a shout out to Tyler Green with the second fastest time, 36:23. Tyler did a slower version of the UTMB course with the pyramids that year. So Tyler, I would say, technically has done the best double ever. Vincent, of course, on the women's side, we should recognize Katie and Courtney have both won in the same season recently, 2023 and 2024. So Vincent trying to become the first male in 15 years to execute it. You were saying Vincent seems very ready. Don't need to betray any confidence.
I won't say anything, but like, Vincent's the most humble guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
He's just such an incredible person, and he would never like brag or say anything, but you can tell that he's ready to go. He's recovered really well, it seems like, from Western States, and I think he's really excited to come back here and defend, or not defend, but to win another UTMB. I have a question, and maybe we don't know this, but like, has anybody won both in the same year and set the course record at both in the same year?
No way.
No, because Courtney broke the record at States and Hard Rock, but she was squeaked out of UTMB, and then Katie
was slightly slower at Western States, then broke the record.
So Vincent has a chance to break the course record at both and so win both.
Kilian was also slightly slower than Jeff Rose's record from 2010.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how he fared.
The record here, but
Great question.
That would be
It's
cool.
Fun
That'd
thing
be
to think
cool.
about. Before we move off this, I just want to point out, Katie Scheid and Courtney Dauwalter have the 8th and 10th fastest doubles ever,
Incredible.
including men.
But not
insane.
surprising.
And of course, Courtney did hard rock in between. It's insane.
That's so crazy.
So I just want to also add, Vincent won UTMB and I think it was 1954 was his winning time. Very fast time, going sub 20. He would have to run roughly 22 hours, 25 minutes to get the fastest ever double. So it'd be roughly 2.5 hours slower than the time that he ran in 2024. So there's a very good chance if he finishes that Vincent should be able to get the fastest
because we were
double
looking
ever.
at times before we got on here, and it was like to be top 10 over the last 2 years, like you're running like low 21s.
Yeah.
So if he's top 10, he's gonna break that.
Yeah.
I'm just excited too because like Vincent seems to learn really well.
Yeah.
Like you saw what he like at Western States last year, right? He had a rough day, and like I listened to your interview with Mario and with Vincent. They learned a lot from that, right?
Yeah.
And then he was able to come back and do what he did this year.
Yeah.
Like just imagine what he could potentially do here. Like he had success here his first time, but I guarantee he learned a lot because he's the kind of guy who just absorbs everything and learns a lot. And I guarantee he's got something up his sleeve to make himself even better this year.
It factor is strong with Vincent. Brett, pull up the other 2026 doublers here. Just want to give a shout out to a few other athletes who are going for the double. This is just the people doing Western States and UTMB. Got to give a big shout out to Riley Brady, who ran 15:42 at Western States. Riley needs to run something like 22:14 to get the fastest double ever. So roughly course record time Riley would have to do to pull that off. But obviously Riley, as good as it gets, especially in long course, trying to get their first UTMB lap in. Zach Miller could run the fastest double ever because he's more than an hour faster than Killian's time at Western States. Canyon Woodward a little bit less than an hour faster than Killian's time. So those two are also in the mix. And then of course, Fuzhou Zhang, also a great 100-mile athlete stepping up to the long course. And finally, Fiona Pascal is actually a scratch as of yesterday, will not be starting UTMB. So those are the folks that are doing the Western States to UTMB double. Just to name check those doing Western States to CCC: Adam Peterman, Toma Carden, Jen Lichter, Caitlin Fielder, Hanuka Akiyama, and Emily Hawgood. All great athletes. We'll revisit this storyline later in the week. In OCC, Francesco, be interesting to see how he does stepping back down. Jeshrin Small, and kind of a rough Western States, but he's been top 5 at OCC in the past. Molly Seidel, obviously also an interesting storyline coming into
And
this.
Hauhua.
And Hauha. Yep.
Yeah, Hauhua. Also running OCC.
Yeah, great points. Okay. Concluding with our number one storyline, we got to come back to Ruth Croft, the defending champ. 2 years ago, she was second place, storming through the field late. Ruth, in an interview with Trail Runner Mag, I think it was recently, sort of said, like, I'm not here to defend. She had sort of a different psychology. Hayden, you can comment on this, but it has been rare for people to win back-to-back at UTMB, and the people who have are legends. So I'm just going to list them off before tossing it to you guys, and I'll go in reverse chronological order. So oldest to newest, I guess it is. Marco Olmo, 2026, 2027. He was in his 50s. He's sort of a Ludo
2006.
character.
Yeah, he was 58 when he won in 2006. I just Googled this today.
Unbelievable. Killian Jornet, 2008, 2009. It's crazy to think about that. I mean, he was only like 22 and 23. Lizzie Hawker, 3 in a row, 2010, 2011, 2012. I think the only person to win 3 in a row. Rory Bozio, legend status, 2013, 2014. And Courtney Dauwalter, the last person to do it, 2019, 2021. Of course, 2020 was canceled. So we obviously still count that as defending. So Ruth would be the 6th person to defend UTMB. Tossing it to the panel for comments here. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, it would be incredible to just like get that women's number even a little bit higher. We've got 3 women to 2 men right now. So make it 4 women, 2 men. I don't know. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Hayden, you were saying Ruth is one of your favorite athletes. I know you read
she's
that
one of my heroes.
article. Yeah.
To be fair, like I just like her mindset around things and her approach to racing and just how incredible of an athlete she is. Like, it's not just her performances that mean a lot to me, but it's the way that she portrays herself and the way that, she talks about her mindset around racing. I just think it's very healthy. Yeah. And I think like a lot of young athletes can really learn from her. Like, she just came out with a quote recently that talked a lot about just the mindset she has coming into UTMB and how UTMB is important to her. Like, she works really hard. She works harder than anybody I know, but it's not everything to her. Yeah. Like, there's a lot more to life to her. And I think it's the right mindset to have. Like, you don't need to be putting this pressure on yourself. She don't need to be having that pressure of doubling, right? Yeah. There might be a little bit there, but I think she's taken the right approach around it. And I think she's going to have a great day out there because of that. Just an absolute pro. And you said it perfectly. And kind of to paraphrase, I'm perpetuating the narrative that she really doesn't want to embody, right? So sorry about that, Ruth. And I think the spirit of the article that was written in Outside or Trail Runner Mag was that it's like, I'm not thinking of this as defending my championship. It's to try and win again. And because thinking of it as defending my championship adds a pressure that doesn't feel right. Like, I want to have a new experience at UTMB, not like live up to some old expectation. And Ruth is a very balanced person. In this article, she talks about it. She takes 4 or 5 weeks off after her season every year, just totally punches out, goes and does Vipassana meditations or darkness retreats. She's in naturopathy school, sort of setting up the next chapter of her life for the eventuality that she steps away from professional racing. Just an absolute legend of the sport, somebody we can all look up to and admire for how she approaches sport and life. Yeah, and she really cares about other people. She cares about her community. What she does down in New Zealand is just incredible. Yeah. And I don't think she gets enough credit. I know she doesn't want it, and she doesn't care to have it, but she doesn't get enough. So I'm really happy that we're talking so much about her and bringing her up because she deserves it. She really does deserve it. But yeah, it'll just be really exciting to see her go out there, and I guarantee she's going to improve on her performance from last year. She always does. Yeah. I think the other thing that I learned a lot from Ruth at an early age, and one of the things I learned from her, because like a lot of people might not know this either, is she actually was in the long stuff early on in her career, and she was very successful. Winning Lavaredos and UTMB or CCCs and doing all these longer races. And then she just stopped doing them and went back to the shorter stuff. And she didn't do that necessarily because she wasn't having success or anything. She was doing that because it's genuinely what she wanted to do. Ruth does what she wants to do. Yeah. And she's really just good at whatever inspires her or motivates her is what she's going to do. And she's not going to do things just because it's the thing to do or because it gives her more credit or anything like that. She's doing it because she loves it. Yeah. And when she signs up, say, for UTMB again and comes after that double, it's not because she even cares about the double. It's because she genuinely loves running in the mountains here and wants to run UTMB. Yeah. And I think we can all learn from that, right? Not just in sport, but in life. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Big Ruth Croft fan.
Ruth, we love you. Yeah. And just to brag about you a little bit more, because I know you won't do it yourself. One of 2 people that have the trifecta. We already mentioned that. But she also has Western States. She's also won Golden Trail events. She's won CCC or OCC twice. That year that she won CCC, I think it was 2015. She was the only person to beat Magda Boulay that year, who got Ultra Runner of the Year, in Magda's prime when she was nearly unbeatable. Ruth is as good as we've ever seen in the sport. And it's a privilege to be able to watch her again on this stage next Friday night.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about, at least Danny and I do a lot in the sub hub, about Killian being kind of the versatile GOAT, right? Yeah. Because he's done so well at all the events, but Ruth is right up there with him.
100%.
Yeah. Whether she defends or not, we're all still big Ruth fans here. So,
all right, Ruth, have a great one out there. That's our top 10 storylines, folks. I have a couple honorable mentions before we finally wind down. This one is really fun. I know you'll dig this. Jan Frodeno is running OCC. He's coming in studio on Sunday. For those who don't know, Jan Frodeno is like the Ruth Croft of triathlon. He has won 5 world championships. He is an Olympic champion. He's running OCC, obviously been retired from professional sport for a few years. I'm very interested to talk to him, just his mindset and stuff. I don't know if you want to comment on this because it is pretty cool. I know you follow all endurance sport and have probably followed Jan's career.
Oh, I followed Jan for years.
He's one of my favorite athletes ever,
He's
honestly.
an incredible athlete, incredible person. And it's just, I know he was thinking about, I think, getting into trail last year, but I think ran into some stuff. And
it
now
was qualification snafu. Like he thought he was qualified last year, but his qualification was for this year. So he had to wait a year.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting. I mean, he's a competitor.
Yeah.
Like we've seen that in triathlon. I guarantee he's going to try and compete out there. I don't think he's just doing this just for fun per se. Like maybe that's probably the root of it, but he's going to compete. So it'll be cool to see what he can do out there.
I'm interested to see if like he's got his gear dialed. You know, those triathletes are like big into gear and it's a bit of a learning curve to figure out what to use. Like, is he going to use poles at OCC? He's a big guy like me. We'll cover that with Jan Frodeno.
I think he'll be fine in the mountains too because he's lived in like Andorra.
Right. Yeah.
And so like, he's used to the mountains. Yeah, he'll be
I'm
good.
sure he's prepped. Like, I don't think he's going to be competing for the top 10, but it's going to be so cool to see Jan Frodeno, again, one of the greatest triathletes in history, take on OCC. A couple other things. We don't need to go into it, but of course, like, is this the final year of the spectacle? There's some of this, tension between the organization and the local politicians here in Chamonix. We don't need to go into that, but that's something just to put on the table. There's no crewing at Trient this year. I think that's interesting for CCC and UTMB. We'll cover that in our preview shows. Weather conditions, we're not entirely sure. It's looking like it could be unstable for UTMB, but probably okay for OCC, CCC. This is a good one. Vincent Bouillard's brother, Nathan Bouillard, is running TDS. Go get him, Nathan. Love to see it. And then finally, OCC course change. We'll cover that in our OCC preview, but a slightly different OCC course. So those are just some sort of honorable mention things that are orbiting town as storylines as we move into race week. Closing comments from our very capable and awesome panel today before we officially wind down. EmKay, anything you want to say to your fans?
It's going to be an incredible week. Can't wait to watch all the races and get to just chat about them with you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited for all the races, of course. We love it out here. Been coming out here for like 10 years now. It's a special place. Take it all in. Like, even though there's a lot going on, like, don't forget to look up at Mont Blanc. Don't forget to go on, some hikes with your family or your kids and have a good time. Like, it's an incredible place for families and people to just kind of explore. And also, like, if you want to come out and see me or see some of the other athletes at some of the events going on this week, there's a lot going on and we'd love to see you. Don't be shy. Exactly.
Are there one or two things specifically where you're going to be, where people can come see you?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every day. Like, I think Monday, Wednesday, I'm doing some stuff at the Fly Lab, at the HOKA Fly Lab.
That's at the expo for those who don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Tuesday, Thursday, I have some stuff with Sun God. And then on Wednesday, me and Killian and some of the other Koros athletes are going to be doing some stuff as well. So if you want to come meet a legend like Killian, like, I'm just there,
come on.
But come hang out. Like, you can check out my Instagram. I'm posting it all on there.
Cool. All right. Awesome stuff, guys. That was a super fun show. Top 10 storylines. We've got a good one on our hands this week. As we wind down, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please, we're doing this fun collab with UTMB this week. So subscribe to both channels and make sure you stay locked and loaded to those live broadcasts, which will start 8:15 OCC on Thursday. Go play fantasy, 10 deep, OCC, CCC, and UTMB. And for the first time ever, we're playing ETC. Got head-to-toe kits from our friends at HOKA on the line for our best predictors. Check out all of our athlete interviews. We've done a ton of them already, and we've got a lot more to come. Those are also here on the Freetrail YouTube channel and on the UTMB YouTube channel. Like I said at the top of the show, the Freetrail team, and maybe Hayden himself, will be at the HOKA Shakeout Run Tuesday, 9 a.m. from the Foley Deuce Hotel, sort of a centrally located spot. We'll do a nice shakeout run Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Go get a Tecton X4, for goodness sakes. If it can make me faster, it can do the same for you. It's that fresh white colorway. Hoka.com. Get the Tecton X4. And finally, big thank you to the team behind the scenes. Ryan Thrower, Brett Jorgensen, Tom Buchanan, Travis Longcar, Harmony Bowman back home. On behalf of EmKay Sullivan, Hayden Hux, I'm Debo. See you tomorrow. OCC CCC previews. Peace out.